And welcome to the regularly scheduled Arts, Parks, and LA River Committee hearing on this beautiful, lovely Monday, August 15th. We will begin the meeting. And I'm joined by my colleagues Curran Price and Bob Blumenfield. Welcome, everyone. Colleagues, we have one individual who has filled out cards on every item. So what I'm going to do is we'll hear agenda items specific for the cards that have been filled out from Antonia Ramirez, and then we'll do general public comment separately. So Ms. Ramirez, you have 4 minutes on all of your items.
Thank you. I'm sorry, did you say public comments as well?
No, we'll take that separately. So these are your items 1 through 4.
Thank you.
4 minutes.
Thank you. Number one, we hope that Ms. Elisa Scrofano, who is being appointed to the Cultural Affairs Commission till June the 30th, 2018, will emphasize on the American cultural affairs. We would like her to show the world the story, the history, and the progression of America, and the suffering, the human suffering that is unspeakable and that has never been spoken about throughout the years from the beginning of the Puritans. We hope that you will include something of the American history in this cultural affairs, because no one seems to talk about America other than Donald Trump. Thank you. And number two, Mrs. Rosa Russell is being reappointed to the Human Relations Commission. And if she were forthright with her constituents, she would acknowledge that the Human Relations Commission has been engaged in deception, fraud, and bullying, theft, gang stalking, and inciting hate crimes against legal law-abiding citizens, i.e. United States, our beloved United States military veterans, single straight women, and legal law-abiding citizens who believe in morals, values, human dignity, freedom of speech, etc. The Human Relations Commission has safeguarded and shielded these criminal elements that are violent, combative, hostile, vicious, and downright bullies. And most of them are gays and lesbians, African Americans, and Latino illegal wetbacks and gangbangers. But people like myself who are not gangbangers, not wetbacks, not criminals, not mentals, not drug addicts, we get pummeled and pummeled and pummeled no matter where we are. Who protects us? No one. We have to fight for ourselves. When we call the LAPD for help, God bless them. When they see a black over a Latino, there's nothing, there's no crime. Okay, if we call them and it's a wetback against the Latino, no crime. So we never have any equal protection under the law for those of us, including military veterans, who many of them have protected people who are bullied and they end up in jail. And they bounce from jail to prison. Who protects them? No one. Again, the Human Relations Commission is engaged in fraud and deception and helping and aiding and abetting criminal elements, including your gays and lesbians. Who's discriminating against whom? Thank you. And number three, the zoo. Hell, you don't have to pay to go to the zoo. Go to East LA, safe sanctuary haven. There's plenty of jungle animals out there. And number four, that would be nice. I'm not an engineering individual, but I think we're going into the 21st century, high tech. Let's do a wonderful bridge that will serve all purposes for pedestrians, motorists, and attractions. Let's make it great and just something that will inspire creativity, awesomeness in Los Angeles. Let's start bringing the brains here to make Los Angeles a true phenomena of high tech, instead of this gang-banging pussy crap. Anyway, and that's, yeah. And lastly, I think if we do vote for our Donald Trump...
we're not to public comment yet.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. But again, let me just expound a little bit on Mrs. Elisa Scrofano. I hope that the people that you are selecting are people with integrity, are people with human dignity, that will respect all colors, that will bring and show first and foremost America. You live in America. You don't live in other foreign countries. You live in America. Let's show the world what America is made out of. Look at our military veterans. God bless America.
Okay, so we will, Ms. Ramirez, I'm going to go ahead and we'll hear the one public comment that we have. You have 1 minute for general public comment, and we will close general public comment at this time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning I was at the Music Center Grand Park. Yesterday was a Korean Affairs, and it was a lovely presentation. Today, this morning, about 10:33, as I was getting ready to come over here to the council meetings, I saw a squadron of 4 aircrafts. They might have been military, perfectly aligned, going right above the Music Center Grand Park, Block 4, all the way to Block 1. We need an air show at the parks. We need an air show, something that will dazzle the world and bring ghetto level of intelligence all the way to the top. Let's bring creativity, that thundering, roaring excitement that only aircrafts and military aircrafts can bring. And 2, ladies and gentlemen, you have a lot of men going into the females' bathroom at Block 4 at the Music Center Grand Park. And there's a lot of theft. Put 3 to 4 security individuals at each block because it's unfair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, colleagues, at this time I'd like to take item 3 on consent if there are no objections. Okay, so moved. 3 will be on consent. And Mr. Blaine Sutton-Willis, this brings us to the Cultural Affairs Commissioner. Please read item 1.
Good morning. Item number 1, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ms. Elisa Scrofano to the Cultural Affairs Commission for the term ending June 30, 2018. This is a time limit file, which last day for council action is September 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton-Willis. And Ms. Scrofano, welcome. And please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Hello, my name is Elisa Scrofano, and I am honored to be considered for the appointment for the Cultural Affairs Commission. I have currently been serving on the Cultural Heritage Commission for the last 2 years, which I have greatly enjoyed. I am passionate about art and architecture. I studied art history and architecture at the University of Michigan, and then I moved to Los Angeles in 1986 and attended Southern California Institute of Architecture, where I attained my master's degree. Since then, I had worked at the offices of Frank Gehry, Eric Moss, Narduli Grinstein, and I had opened my own firm here 20 years ago. So we have a small practice in Pico and Fairfax area. I've traveled extensively throughout the world, Europe, Asia, and Central America, and these experiences have given me a broad and heightened understanding of other cultures, including art, architecture, and appreciation of ethnic diversity. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Do you have anything?
Thank you, and thanks for accepting being appointed to this commission. And so how do you intend on bringing your professional experience and your robust view of traveling the world in relation to appreciating art and architecture to bear on this commission?
Well, I think what's really important is that I've experienced art and architecture and influences from people and communities and societies as a whole. And living in LA, I've enjoyed all of the cultural and artistic diversities that happen within this remarkable city. So I really am excited to play an important role in promoting and recognizing art and architecture in cultural events for the city.
Wonderful. And just a bit of perspective that I have now being, I think 3 of us have been on the city council now for 3 years, 1 month, and 15 days. So we've been here for a while now. And then Mr. Rue just passed his first year. One piece of perspective that I have is that I want to do all I can and work with the commission, with the Department of Cultural Affairs. And we've had this conversation many times with Ms. Brazil. And that is, what can we do to make sure that cultural experiences and art experiences reach every corner of the city of Los Angeles, and not just where things organically are happening because of investment and interest, but how do we reach all Angelinos in traditionally underserved or neglected neighborhoods?
Well, I would probably make suggestions to hope that we address every neighborhood in Los Angeles. I was at the Arts Walk at Frogtown
Oh,
this
great.
weekend. Yep.
Did I see you there? Did we see each other?
You were actually giving a broadcast, so I
Oh,
wasn't able to go up and talk to you. But I think it's important that we do address every district and neighborhood in Los Angeles and recognize every cultural ethnicity and what they bring to the city of Los Angeles. So I will do my best to uphold that.
Terrific. Thank you. Colleagues, questions, thoughts? Mr. Price.
No, just want to thank you for your willingness to serve. This is an important area. We know how important the arts is to us as a cultural expression, but it's also a tool for economic development, as you alluded to, and as the chairman has said on many occasions. And so, anything we can do to help illuminate activities going on in other parts of the city to kind of expand and spread the benefits of diversity and the real opportunities for individuals to make a difference. I think we need to be doing that, and I think the arts is an excellent way to do it. And so we look forward to your participation and your commitment to furthering that, and for really using this as a tool for economic development and helping to serve and to expose underserved communities. It's not just a matter of folks knowing about them, but creating opportunities as well. And so we appreciate your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Rue.
Great background. And one of the duties when you're in the commission will be exploring cultural status, historic status, right? So as an architect, what would your viewpoints be on if there's preserving an existing cultural historic status versus creating a newer cultural historic building? How would you try to make a decision there?
Can you give me an example of?
Well, land is scarce in the city of Los Angeles. We're always trying to find creative ways to build. And when, let's say, if there's a certain plot of land where they wanted to build a brand new building, and let's say it would be done by a famous architect to build a new, potentially iconic structure. But it turns out that, one of the buildings tends to be either architecturally significant or, Walt Disney lived there. How do you grapple, as an architect, right? Especially, let's say, if it's architecturally, could be architecturally iconic, historic.
Well,
How would you,
I think the purpose of our role is that we actually serve as a judge, and that's what we've done in the Cultural Heritage Commission, to actually preserve LA's history and their cultural history and many of the iconic buildings in Los Angeles. So, I think I would evaluate all of the material in front and make a decision that would be the best for the city and the community. But as an architect,
and it's basically picking one over another, right?
yeah, it is. Sometimes I think it'll be an interesting discussion, but I actually think the education of architecture is a really great discipline to analyze things thoroughly. So that hopefully will help in the decision-making process.
Well, I think your architectural background is tremendous for this commission, and I'm for historic preservation, and I think it's very important for us to remember where we're from, remember our past, remember where we originated from, whether it's ethnically or architecturally. So I think you have a very important job ahead of you. I think there's a huge backlog of work that needs to be done. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Mr. Blumenfield.
Godspeed.
There you go. Wasn't that the best comment right there? So brief,
That was great.
No, good. All right. Well, so I think you have broad support on this panel, and so without objection, we will approve and get you before the full city council so we can get you on that commission.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time.
Congratulations, Ms. Grafano. And Mr. Sutton-Willis, will you please read item 2?
Item number 2, communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of Ms. Rosa Russell to the Human Relations Commission for the term ending June 30, 2020. This is also a time limit file with the last day for council action September 9th.
All right. Welcome, Ms. Russell.
Good morning, council members.
Thank you so much for your service on the HRC, and please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you hope to accomplish with your reappointment.
Well, that's a lot. Well, I grew up in Watts. I came through the Watts riot, and the projects. So I'm a girl that came up through the ranks. I had some college degree, but I worked my way up. I worked for 2 elected officials. I started working for Councilman Dave Cunningham. I worked for him for 9 years, and then I worked for Councilman Nate Holden as his senior deputy for 16 years until he termed out. And then I went to CDD, and I worked there for 7 years. So I have 32 years of service with the city. So, I knock on wood, thank you, Lord. And so I have painted out graffiti. I have picked up trash. I have helped people in the community help resolve their problems. So I've always been a love of people. So I always believe in helping and that you have to give back. So working with the councilman, we were the first people to have start the city taxi coupon for all the seniors. So we did that. So we did a lot of things that I thought was really credible to the city that I'm proud of. And now, well, human relations, when I first got there, it was really something to learn that people had a lot of concerns. We, like you have one of the members addressing, we had the spy people, and we had people coming in with the concerns of the community. They made me president of the commission, and I thank my colleagues for that. And I think because I had the patience with the people that come before us, and I know how people feel in the community, because I'm still one. I still concerned about my community, about everything that goes on in the city. And I will, until my time, I will be fighting to the end. So we did do our 50-year anniversary for the Ross riot. We have worked with, started talking to different council people to let them know what their wishes are, what they would like to see done in their districts, so we can, correlate and work out what we can do. We have had community meetings out in the district. In the process, we have worked with, we did start a new advisory council with the LGBT, and we did do that. We're working on the indigenous peoples. So we're working on that. We have the ambassador with the kids. We're working on that. If we just found out we don't have enough funding for that, so we got to really work on that. So we have, we're supposed to be working on race relations with some of the council people. So we have a lot of projects that's come before us. So we have still a lot of work to do.
Well, thank you so much. And your work looms large for me, and I would argue virtually every one of my colleagues. These are very heady times. And seeing that you have a life that has been informed by being in the trenches for decades, I think you bring a really great perspective to the proceedings. And you mentioned some of the huge topics you're already working on, and the religious pluralism piece, the cultural identity, and it more often than not comes down to coalition building, right, across the diversity spectrum. So seeing all that we are working on together with relationship policing and et cetera, with the challenges in several communities with the LAPD. If you could expand a little bit upon your perspective on the role that the Commission plays in advancing those discussions, not just with the PD, but with the other topics as well.
Well, the Commission was started out of the Watts riot. So the role that the commission plays is to kind of soothe the community and get the understanding between the city and between the city and the people in the city. So, the government. So what I feel when we go out is to understand and to listen to their concerns and bring it back to the city, to the councilman, to the mayor, and let them know that the concerns of what the people are thinking out there. Because I feel that as a human relations person, we're the eyes and the ears. We're supposed to bring back to the government, to the city, and let them know what the community is thinking. So we have to work together, understand where they're coming from, and try to assist them and see if there's ways that we can work it out.
Terrific. Well, thank you for your service so far and your service into the future. Colleagues, questions? Mr. Price.
Thank you, Rosa. I too want to just thank you for your service. You've been a real pioneer in the community on many fronts, serving elected officials and volunteering and in your own pursuits. Looking back this past year, or a couple of years, I guess you've been on now.
A couple of years.
So what would you say was the most gratifying achievement so far in terms of what you've been able to do on the commission, what the commission's been able to do, and how it interacts with our neighborhoods?
Well, when we first started on the commission, and we had a lot of the people coming in and complaining about, things in their community, and I'm proud to say that the people now, when they come in, they're more comfortable with knowing that we are concerned and that we did help them. That I have to really say now, they know that we are listening. So because we had those town hall meetings out in the community, so they know that we are trying to do something, and we let them have a little part in it. When we decided to have a community meeting out in the community, we let those people that were concerned about what was on, we let them bring in suggestions and what they should do when we added it. We added some of their concerns there. So they took a look and they could see that the commission was very concerned.
Thank you.
Mr. Blumenfield.
Well, first I want to echo my gratitude for the work that you've put in so far and your willingness to continue it. It really is appreciated by the overall city. So
Thank you.
Look forward to supporting you again in this and appreciate that. Was curious, with the Human Relations Commission, any interactions with the protests going on across the street with the Black Lives Matter folks that are protesting, right now? Is that something the commission can get engaged with on our front doorstep here?
The commission is. Francisco is on the Human Relations staff. He attends all the meetings, and he comes back and tells the commissions what is happening. And I understand that they're there for the duration, until they're firing a chief back. So, he comes back and tells us. So we're all involved in it, so we do try to keep abreast of what's going on.
Thank you.
Mr. Rue.
Rosa, it's a pleasure to see you, and
Yes.
we just spent some time together in Philadelphia.
Yes.
And, you served on the commission multiple terms, right?
No, this is my...
Oh, it was only your second term?
This is the second term.
Oh, okay. Well, but I get confused because you've been so involved in the community.
Yeah.
And especially now with with all the budget cuts that we've been having for the past several years, and the Human Relations Commission being shifted around, and we're, myself and my colleagues are trying to support the Human Relations Commission.
Yes.
So I'm so glad that you're there, because I just remember like a decade ago, the City of LA Human Relations Commission was the commission. It was
Yes, the number one.
It was the nationwide renown, always sought after, but with a downturn in the economy, and it's had a lot of setbacks. So I'm glad that you're there to bring it back up to the stature that it was. So it's a pleasure that you're on the commission, and thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I think it looks pretty unanimous that this panel strongly supports your reappointment, Ms. Russell. And without objection, we will move you forward to the full City Council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that brings us to item 4. Mr. Sutton-Willis, will you please read item 4?
Item number 4, Bureau of Engineering report relative to the proposed North Atwater non-motorized Multimodal Bridge project over the Los Angeles River. This item is also referred to Public Works and Gain Reduction Committee.
Thank you so much. And we have Shirley Lau from the Bureau of Engineering joining us. And just have a few comments before you start your presentation. But I just want to say that the North Atwater Multimodal Bridge, which is project number 147 in the LA River Revitalization Master Plan, which I worked on with several of my then colleagues for the better part of 4 years, more than a decade ago. It's a master plan that I'm very well aware of, and that is one of the projects identified. We have a number of bridges in that plan. Currently, our most famous bridge, the 6th Street Viaduct, is under construction. In the pipeline, we have North Atwater Village, Taylor Yards, and the Red Car Trestle bridges as part of the Hyperion Bridge retrofit. These three are for non-motorized crossings of the river and much smaller in scope than our, I would call it a flagship bridge, the 6th Street Bridge. In general, these bridges are to bring river communities together, connect pedestrians, equestrians, bicyclists, separate from motorized vehicles. The city is currently in pre-construction and design for a number of these bridges and looking for funding to make them a reality. Regarding the North Atwater Multimodal Bridge, in 2011, long before any of us were in this position, a private donor expressed an interest in funding this span very, very generously. At the time, the budget was estimated at around $5 million for this particular bridge with an equestrian and multimodal focus. At the time, the budget was estimated around $5 million, as I said, and this donor came forward. Unfortunately, increases in construction costs, estimates, and permitting, the cost of the proposed span has increased well above the original estimate. And Ms. Lau will go into some details on why that is. With that in mind, we've asked Ms. Lau to commence, and Bureau of Engineering, to commence with the bidding of the proposed design to understand exactly what the gap funding will be and to simultaneously report back with a possible alternative bridge design that could work within the originally proposed budget from back in 2011 and begin construction in the near future. That being said, we will engage in this conversation after your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Good morning, Shirley Lau with the Bureau of Engineering Bridge Improvement Division. So this report before you provides BOE recommendations for consideration to implement the North Atwater non-motorized multimodal bridge over the LA River. The proposed bridge will be situated roughly 1/2 mile upstream of Los Feliz Boulevard, connecting the two banks of the Yellow River. The bridge would be approximately 35 feet wide with two separate paths, one for pedestrian and bicyclists and the other for equestrian use. So as Councilmember O'Farrell mentioned, this is project number 147 of the River Revitalization Master Plan. River LA is a nonprofit entity formerly known as the LA River Revitalization Corporation, and they were established in 2009 to further the long-range goals of the River Master Plan. River LA was able to successfully procure grant funds and attract the private funds for this project, and they have been the responsible entity for the design, the estimate, specifications, and all permits necessary to construct this bridge. On May 22, 2012, City Council adopted recommendations in Council File 11-1246 to request the preparation of a gift agreement, and this gift agreement was to accept a completed multimodal bridge. In 2014, to supplement funding for the project, River LA applied for and was awarded an Active Transportation Program grant by Caltrans. It's also known as ATP grant. In late 2015, when River LA was working with Caltrans to resolve issues administering this federal grant, there was a potential of lapsing of the grant funds, and therefore Caltrans recommended that River LA transfer the ATP grant to the City of Los Angeles. So as such, the original objective to gift a completed multimodal bridge as recommended in the May 2012 Council report, that has changed, and now River LA intends to transfer the ATP grant, other grant funds, and deliver and assign all the project documents necessary for the construction of this bridge through a gift agreement. So River LA has provided a construction cost estimate of $9.3 million for this project. At this time, BOE estimates that the total cost to complete this project is a little over $13 million, and that includes the $9.3 million of construction cost, a 10% contingency, permit fees, construction management costs, design support during construction, the inspection during the construction, and also maintenance costs for 10 years. The current sources of funds available totals $9.2 million, so there is a shortfall of $3.8 million based on BOE's estimates. BOE is ready to advertise the project for bids, and once bids are received, we will report back to City Council on fiscal impacts. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Shirley. I'm going to have a few questions, and I think you just sort of laid it out that back in 2011, we wanted a $5 million bridge. Funding was made available to then River Corps, and now it's River LA, to that purpose. And now we're looking at, in BOE's estimate, a $13 million bridge, not counting maintenance of what is currently designed. And therein lies a huge gaping issue. So if you could elaborate on just the following. The first one is in relation to the agreement itself. Who is this agreement between? If you could just reiterate. You kind of already said it, but reiterate that.
Okay, this agreement on number one of the recommendations is a gift agreement between the city and River LA, which is a nonprofit organization. And this is to accept a gift of the ATP grant, and also I believe they have 2 other grant funds, and also all the project documents, the plans, the specifications, and permits associated with construction of the project.
And that's what you need technically in order to do an RFP, so that we can get a sense of what the bridge construction world feels is doable within a specified budget. So,
Correct.
And why is this gift agreement necessary?
This gift agreement is necessary, otherwise we will not be able to advertise the project at this time. We need the transfer of the grant to the city. We don't have authority
In order to
advertise the project.
Terrific. And are there any funds being transferred, if you could just reiterate that, gifted, that will be listed in the gift agreement itself, such as the ATP funding that you mentioned?
Yes, so it would be the Caltrans Active Transportation Program funding of $3.66 million, the California Community Foundation $75,000, the LA County 3rd Supervisorial District $333,000. And there were some city funds that were originally allocated to start permitting of this project, but those are city funds, and so they don't need to be transferred at this time.
Okay, and what are you alluding to, the discretionary funds that were committed
Yes.
years ago?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then if this bridge is not constructed, do any of these funds need to be returned? And I'm not saying that's, we're going to build a bridge, but just to get that answer.
No, these are not going to be returned to the nonprofit. They're simply just transferred. They will be returned to the original grantor.
Got it. And what will be the next steps once the gift agreement, what will be the next steps once the gift agreement is finally executed?
We would like to, I think to save time, we would like to advertise the project and then execute the gift agreement. And then the main thing is, once the bids come back, we can evaluate how much the bridge will actually cost.
Okay, and then once we have in clear vision the actual bridge we're going to construct, whether it's this design or an alternative design, does all of the funding, 100% of the funding for the bridge itself, need to be in place before construction can begin?
Yes.
It does, okay. And then if you could describe that if an alternative plan is a direction that we choose to move forward with, Describe the legislative process. Do you bring it to council? Do you bring it to this committee? And why is this necessary?
Yes. Should the bids come in high and we don't have sufficient funds, therefore that's the reason why we're looking at an alternative design, we would come back to council given, we'll also do the same thing as we'll provide an estimate, but at that time that will be a city project and then we'll have to identify funding should the Caltrans ATP grant not be available. So that grant was a 2014 grant, so Caltrans is rather strict on the lapsing of the funds, and so we'll have to see at the time, should there be an alternative design, if it's available or not.
So there will be a sense of urgency in terms of our decision-making and then just moving forward with it.
Yes.
To keep those grants secured.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the maintenance. Can you elaborate on the maintenance options and the associated costs? For example, similar bridges and associated maintenance costs of this proposed cable stay bridge. That's the bridge that's designed as a cable stay versus an alternative, what that would look like.
Okay, so we talked to engineers up in Reading, and they have a sundial bridge, which is a similar cable stay bridge, and that's also a pedestrian bridge. They're estimating roughly, I'd say, $150,000 a year for the last 10 years in maintaining that bridge. It is slightly longer than the proposed bridge that River LA has designed. However, they said that cleaning of the bridge, because it's also going over the Sacramento River, inspection, replacement of parts, and painting has made the maintenance of the bridge roughly $150,000 a year. So that's the cost. Our current estimate by BOE, we estimated it at $75,000 a year for 10 years. So that actually does not include tuning of the cables, and so that was in addition. So as part of our budget, BOE estimated $900,000 for the lifetime of, for 10 years. So it appears that the city of Reading, it seems like their costs were a little higher. As far as an alternative design, we are working with a couple of vendors on prefabricated bridges, and we will be meeting them to discuss solutions to possibly spanning the LA River without constructing a pier in the middle. They seem to have spans in excess of 400 feet, which is very good. That will basically allow us to cross the river without having a construction of a pier in the middle of the river, which I think that adds a lot of the cost in construction that this design that River LA has done. We do have a pier in the middle of the river and then also a 126-foot tall tower, and that's the style of the cable stay bridge. And so I hope that answered.
Okay, and then in this alternative sort of concept that you just described, it could hold several horses and their riders crossing at the same time from an engineering standpoint?
We haven't discussed in detail on having, equestrians and pedestrians on the same bridge, so we're going to be doing that in the next week.
Okay.
So talking with the vendors.
And colleagues, you may very well already know this, but the genesis of this bridge is for equestrian purposes first, not in place of bicyclists or pedestrians, because, of course, you build a bridge and it's near, connects Griffith Park. So we want a bridge that accommodates all those populations. But let's not forget that the genesis was to provide safe crossing for horses, because right now they have to go down in the river, and it's dangerous and slippery, and that's of course, a priority. In the 2011 council motion, maintenance and long-term costs for the upkeep of the cable stay was part of the river gift. And there was, in the original intent, was actually to gift the maintenance of this bridge as designed. Has that commitment changed? And if so, why?
Yes, that commitment has changed. At the time, one of the agencies, they agreed to gift that, however, that has been retracted, and so the maintenance cost of this bridge is currently with the city.
And so as you described earlier, we're talking about approximately $9 million over a 10-year period for the cable maintenance and just the general maintenance of the bridge.
Right, for that particular style, we estimated, just to break it down, $153,000 for tuning and inspection, and that's once every 5 years, and then $75,000 a year for 10 years.
Okay.
So the total for 10 years was $900,000.
Okay. Did I say 9 million? My apologies. Yeah, 900,000 for a 10-year period maintenance.
Right.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So considering there's a funding shortfall, if the city accepts project management responsibilities and ownership, is it accurate to say that we're also responsible for the shortfall in getting the project fully funded and then maintaining it
Correct.
in perpetuity? All right, great. Thank you. Thanks, Shirley. Colleagues, questions, comments? Mr. Rue, let's start. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilman O'Farrell, and thank you to River LA and the Bureau of Engineering for your hard work on this project. And I just want to first make it clear that, like Councilman O'Farrell, I fully support this project, and the North Atwater Bridge project, which is known as the Koretz Crossing, has been prioritized as one of the top 3 river projects in Council District 4, and I'm full support of this non-motorized bridge that encourages active engagement and transportation for bikers, pedestrians, and equestrians. But I had a couple of questions, and thank you, Councilman O'Farrell, for those extensive line of questioning, and I don't want to repeat them, but in your BOE report, you identified that River LA did not meet the pre-agreement audit for the active transportation plan. And Caltrans identified that. And do you know what the reasoning for that inadequate procurement process was?
Right. So in general, Caltrans, they actually have never implemented a so-called master agreement with a nonprofit to date. However, they allowed nonprofits to apply for the Active Transportation Program grants. So I believe River LA was one of the first to try to start this process. However, Caltrans has really strict regulations as far as procurement processes, has to follow the Code of Federal Regulations, and I think as they reviewed some of the documents that River LA had, they just felt that at that time, they would probably require a couple more years to actually get an executed master agreement. So time was running out, and therefore, the City of LA being an agency, we've done many federal projects. They felt that it was best for the nonprofit to have us do the project.
So you're confident that we could meet all of Caltrans guidelines and requirements and all of that?
Yes.
Because we've done it before.
Yes, we've done.
Then, just to reiterate then, but does BOE have the staff capacity to complete and deliver the necessary requirements? And do you have the teamwork and budget and allocation resources available to get this done?
At this time, we did not allocate any staffing for this particular project since it wasn't a city project that was programmed in our division. So we will have to revisit that and look at how many staff we need in order to oversee basically construction of the project.
So is that going to delay or increase the cost? Or, how are you guys confident you're going to be able to absorb that cost, additional cost?
Depending on, I guess, the difficulty and probably the type of bridge that we built, then we can see. So as it is, I think this particular design that River LA has given us, the cable stay bridge, that one would take 2 years to construct because we do have a pier in the middle of the river, and so it's a little more difficult. Potentially alternative designs, it could be completed in a shorter time frame, then we could probably absorb the costs of overseeing construction.
Yeah, because my concern is the base of what Councilman O'Farrell is concerned about. It started at $5 million, now it's at 13, and I fully support this, but at the same time, if we come back and it's 15, 16, 17, And does this, so that's the biggest concern, but does this project align with BOE's priorities? Current priorities?
In the current bridge program, I guess in the current bridge program, we typically do vehicular bridges, so this is something new, but definitely I think as part of the LA River Revitalization Master Plan, we're definitely supportive of implementing one of those projects.
What would the River LA's role be if this happens?
River LA's role, they did, they basically selected the original designers of that cable stay bridge, so we may need to, during the construction phase, retain the services of that designer. But other than that, once they gift us the documents and also transfer the grants, I don't really see any further role on their part.
And just to clarify again, so the current 3.8 million shortfall, where was that going to come from again?
We have not identified that shortfall.
Oh.
Where the source?
Right.
Any
Oh,
future
okay. So
source.
we would have to go find it somewhere.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. Rue. Mr. Price, any questions? Mr. Blumenfield.
Yeah, still trying to get my head around all the numbers here. So there's $5 million that's been gifted or private, or no?
No, there has not been any gift given to the city on the project to date.
So there's $3.6 million for Caltrans,
Yes,
$333,000 from
per
county.
county, yes.
$75,000 was the
California Foundation, I
California
think, yeah.
Foundation.
Mhm.
That's only about $4 million. And then to get to the $9 million, I was counting the $5 million that I thought was the private foundation money, or the private money. Because we're $3.8 million short on a $13 million bridge. Help me fill in the gaps for me where those numbers are.
So as part of, I think, the original private donor that Councilmember O'Farrell mentioned, we did include that in the table on the council report. That one is pending a separate gift agreement. So that one is $3.67 million. So that's in addition to the other grants that we just discussed.
So the private money that was promised that was coming in for the original $5 million bridge was 3.8 million. Is that what you just said? Or-
3.67 million. So that one is not part of this agreement from River LA. That would be through a different gift agreement.
But what we're counting on that money.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So the $3.8 million shortfall is assuming, okay, here's a table that might help me out a bit. Thank you. That's assuming the new numbers that you have in terms of the 20% contingency and all that other stuff. So when you put in the bids, like they're going to be bidding on a bridge that's a $13 million bridge, or are they bidding on a bridge that's just a bridge? I mean, how are they coming up to the numbers?
So the original construction cost estimate that River LA has provided, it totals $9.3 million. That's the construction cost. So when we go out to advertise the project, the items listed, basically the engineer's estimate is $9.3 million. So that's what they're bidding on. The $13 million becomes $13 million because we have added the 10% contingency. We have a lot of permit fees will be in the river. Construction management, Bureau of Contract Administration, they have to inspect. And then we have design support during construction. And also, I have added the maintenance cost for 10 years. So that totals.
If they come back with a $9.3 million response, then we're $3.8 million
Correct.
short. So you're hoping they're going to come back with a bridge that's $3 million less, or we're hoping we're going to find a gap for the $3 million?
I think, well, we definitely do hope that the construction cost would be lower, then our gap would be smaller. But if it comes in at $9.3 million, then yes, we do need to look for $3.8 million.
And where do you think that money would come from?
We have a couple other grant programs We've discussed it with Caltrans to see if they will fund, basically to supplement this project. However, they haven't given us any definitive answer. One is to apply again for the active transportation program, and there's also a recreational trails program. And so these are two other federal programs that we could go back and ask to see if they will supplement this project.
And the other thing, you said that the Caltrans money is tenuous potentially, or we could lose that. What are the circumstances that we would lose that? Because I would hate to see us lose money.
Right. So in March of this year, we allocated the funds, and we had 6 months basically from March to award the project. However, I have requested another 1-year extension. So we are requesting a 1-year extension to award the funds. So that would bring us to September of 2017.
And have they granted that year extension?
I will be going on Wednesday and Thursday to request for that, so.
To request?
At the California Transportation Commission. It is on the agenda.
It's on the commission's agenda, so
Yes.
that probably goes to them first, I guess. Then they make the recommendation.
Right.
Okay. Obviously, keep us posted, because if there's a problem with that, we want to make sure everyone's lobbying them appropriately.
Thank you. And let me just state for the record, Mr. Blumenfield, that the RFP for this bridge as designed, which we're accepting as a gift, a design, does not lock us into funding and constructing that particular design. But we're not going to know the particulars until the bids come back. That will inform next steps that this body will deliberate on, whether or not we move forward with the various, funding needs that are, as of now, unmet entirely, or if we take a look at an alternative design that possibly is much less expensive or somewhat less expensive. In a perfect world, we would get back to designing and building a $5 million bridge, or maybe 6, maybe 7. And at that point, we could then revisit the original intent of the donor who, back in 2011, said, hey, I want to help you build a bridge. So this process is the only way we're going to know how we land on the type of bridge that we do end up constructing. And so I am committed to an aggressive timeline once the bids come back and we can take a look at the reality of the situation to move forward so that we don't jeopardize this ATP funding and the other funding along with it. And then lastly, I want to say that through the budget process, we agreed in principle to apply up to $1 million in MECLA funding for any gaps. So I think it's important and incumbent upon us to not get ourselves in a situation where we're throwing good public dollars after bad. And without prejudging anything, we'll know once these bids come back on what is credible and real, and then how we need to make a decision on how best to move forward. So I think this is good, and we'll know in fairly short order, and we will be, manifesting that they'll give us that extension so that we can iron all this out in the meantime and move forward and get that bridge built, get a bridge built.
And one last question. Is the private donor money, is that locked in? It says pending gift agreement with the city. Is there any chance of losing that, or is that solid?
That's in discussions. That is a separate gift agreement that we only have draft form, so we're still meeting with the private donor and their representative, their general counsel. So.
Because even if we get the ATP money, if we lose that, then we're in the same spot.
Right, except if the ATP money and the other monies that Shirley mentioned gets us to 4, and a MECLA fund of $1 million gets us to 5, an alternative bridge may be able to be constructed with that money or something. I don't want to get ahead of myself or predetermine anything because we're just not going to know. But I think that the world of possibilities is still open here on what comes back. We just need the information to help guide us on a decision moving forward. Thanks. So,
Thank you.
thank you. And all right, with that, colleagues, we have 2 comment cards on this item, starting with Ms. Lau. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Starting with Corinne Flores, and will be followed by Elaine Brock, followed by Cheryl Roberts, who I don't see yet. Is Cheryl is here. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Flores. I'm an independent river advocate. I am very glad that you're considering an alternative design. I'm very impressed to see everyone being fiscally conservative. I'm amazed and elated. I know the equestrians need their bridge. I know when you build an equestrian bridge, the bicyclists and the pedestrians try to use it. So you just got to build it in for them. I know 35 feet is a lot of river habitat to put under darkness, but maybe that's what's necessary. But I don't think we need another iconic design. We have these amazing historic bridges. We have quaint Sunnyshook Footbridge. We're going to get a bridge in Burbank from Bob Hope. We're going to get a bridge over the river at Glendale. We may get a bridge in Frogtown. We need to stay to human scale and let the river be the main point of attraction, the water, the plants, the wildlife, the banks. That's what they come to see. They don't need a bridge to bring them. They're already coming. So I just want to support this, and I'll be tracking it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Karen, and good to see you again. Thank you. Elaine Brock.
Sorry, sir. I broke my ankle.
Oh, take your time. Take your time. And take care of that ankle.
Yeah. Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do I have all your attention? We're not on iPads. My name's Elaine Brock. I've been in North Atwater since 1967. I'm an avid horseman, and I do have a business there. We also tried to build a bridge for a 501(c), but did not get the funding, and I commend the people that have done this. But I'm here today to state this bridge is not safe. The bridge is over cost, it's in the wrong area, and Councilman, at a meeting a couple days ago, you asked for an alternate on it. I brought you one. I'm sorry, sirs. This is one we decided to hopefully build. It needs to be tweaked. It came in at 1.3. My very nice gentlemen in Oregon that are licensed to build bridges for freeways said it will come in at 4.5. Their concept is good. You're talking about the cabling. All right, in a meeting with their architects, they so stated that the cable was going to be at 12 feet. Now, do any of you gentlemen know about horses? Any of you? I'm getting a blank. All right,
I was raised in Oklahoma. I know how to ride horses.
Okay, do you know where the withers are?
But you're the expert, so please.
I am the expert, supposedly. You know where the withers are. This is the base point. Our horses now are at 6 feet. Gentlemen, are any of you at 6 feet? Would you stand, please? Please. All right, you're 6 feet, and you add a person onto that, say 3 feet, you've got almost 9, 10 feet. If the cabling is set at 12 and a horse rears up, what's going to happen to these people? They're going to get decapitated, and we can't get people to listen. Also, the bridge is in the wrong location. I grant you it has taken time to build this bridge. All right, I get 2 more minutes.
No. You don't get 2 more minutes. Just wrap up your thoughts, though.
All right. I think an alternative needs to be done. It's too much money, and the cost to the city and the taxpayers over a long run is too vast. And number one, also real quick, when we come off the bridge, we're going to be on the bike path. So we need to look at this overall. They've done a great job. It's a wonderful thing, but it needs to be downsized. And Councilman Ferrell?
Thank you, Elaine. And what we'll do is we'll share that with Shirley, and we'll look at those plans. So thank you so much for bringing that.
These are $50,000 that the city paid for, and it is stamped.
All right. Thank you so much, Elaine.
You're more than welcome. You can come ride anytime.
I will. I'll join you soon.
Between the two barns, we have 150 horses.
It's great.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, Cheryl. Sorry I didn't see you. I don't know how that was possible, but thank you.
So I appreciate Karen and Elaine's comments, and I agree with them. And one thing, River LA kindly facilitated a meeting between the engineer and community members. And although I'm not an equestrian, for some reason I was involved in that. And one thing I didn't hear clarified here was that I think part of the cost became actually two bridges, because the horses need a whole separate surface than people and bikes will need. And so I just didn't hear that addressed, and I didn't hear that the new proposals will address it being two bridges and not one bridge. And also, I want to agree with Karen about, or maybe she didn't say that, but the cable, it's built to glorify a certain committee or individual, and we don't need that. We just need a crossing. That's the whole point of it. And also, from my understanding, the cabling is what's adding the maintenance, increased maintenance. And so I really just find that just folly for the use of our city funds. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
One other thing I would like to say, I don't think the bridge should be named for an individual, maybe like the area or something like that, but I don't think it should be built to glorify a certain person. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being involved and coming to committee today. Colleagues, what I recommend, seeing as we've heard all the comment cards, is that we approve the BOE report with additional instruction to report back on recommendations 3 and 5 of the report, which are highlighted here, which allude to the finer points that Ms. Lau made, which do the following. Instruct the Bureau of Engineering to report back to City Council on the cost and schedule of an alternative design approach to the design plans gifted from River LA. And 5, and it's all in the recommendations, direct the Bureau of Street Services to report back on the maintenance of the proposed bridge once completed and the alternative design. And let's add and all relevant departments to that instruction, just in case another agency or department needs to get involved. And that the BOE report back on those recommendations within 30 days in the month of September. Seeing as there are no objections, that is the direction we will go. And thank you so much. Mr. Sutton-Willis, any other items?
That is, the desk is clear, sir.
Thank you so much. And that concludes this meeting.